The software now announces that it's being recorded, so I have higher confidence that it took.
Afternoon.
Okay, this is the Town of Old Lyme Affordable Housing Commission. It's Wednesday, the 18th of January, 2023. Happy New Year. And
New Year.
Happy New
in
Year.
we have myself, Michael Fogliano, Bill Belluzzi, Jen Miller, Karen Winters, and Lori Walker.
I think John
John
called in.
I did.
And John Coughlin just joined. Awesome. Hi, John. Happy New Year.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, so we're missing Amy and Anthony right now, but let's press on. I had mentioned before, I have a hard stop no later than 6:15, so I'm going to try and push us along through the agenda. So please bear with me as I do that. First up on the agenda is public comment. If there is anyone on the line that wishes to make a public comment, please do so. I'm going to unmute everything. Okay, hearing no public comment, we will close public comment and move on to the next agenda item, which is correspondence. I have none to report. Does anyone else on the commission have any correspondence to report?
No.
Okay.
Have none.
Thank you, John. All right, moving right along. Item number 4 is approval of minutes. I did not successfully send the minutes for you all to read prior to the meeting, despite 2 attempts to do so. I went out just at meeting time, and I don't expect anyone to be able to give it a meaningful read by now. So I'm going to, for this agenda, I'm just going to defer that to our February meeting, and we'll take it up in February. But you should now have the minutes from the December meeting in your inbox, and I apologize for it not making it to you with the agenda that came out last week. So we'll take that up. We'll take that up next meeting. Okay, which brings us to our updates. A couple of general updates. So I'll update briefly on the budget. So I did submit a budget. Had some correspondence with Nicole Ledger, who's the director of finance, and got the budget into the template that they're using to consider. I believe the board might have taken that already. The Board of Selectmen might have taken that up already, or will be later this week. But in any case, I haven't gotten any feedback yet. But it went in pretty much as we had discussed last time. So nothing to report there other than it has been submitted and received by finance, and this is a multi-month process to review and approve it. So I'll keep you posted on that. Other than that, nothing in general report. We do. Katie did start in the selectman's office, so we have a new person as the exec admin in the first selectman's office, and we had touched base, and we had a nice introduction, and we now have a resource there to carry some of the stuff we want to do forward, which I'm very happy to report. She sounds great. Looking forward to working with her. Okay. Next, under updates for myself and Jen 5.2, we have the McCulloch family open space affordable housing option. It was fairly quiet over the holidays. I did have a conversation with Tim, and the next steps on this, which Tim is arranging, are going to be to meet with counsel, legal counsel on this, to take up 3 items that we need to sort out in terms of the process and requirements. The first is how we move forward with an RFP or RFQ, and what the steps are going to be to do that. This is kind of a unique case. It's not like we're bidding out on a project per se. There's an acquisition involved, so we're going to get some advice on that. We're also going to get some advice on how the ARPA grant would be applied to this. project, given the direction it's going. We also have the open item on exactly what the requirements are going to be to fulfill the steps needed to exercise the option as it's laid out. So we're going to get some legal advice on all of that, so that as we engage potential partners on this, we have a sense of what exactly is going to be required, and it's less of a hypothetical discussion, more of a concrete one. So that's all still pending, but Tim is going to be making arrangements for that with our town council. Any questions on that? Not much to report, but it's I'm going to expect and have every intention that it's going to pick up pace now that we're through the holidays. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Michael, just a question on the first one. So advice as to what, other than the ARPA and the execution of the option? What was the first one?
What do we need to do in terms of an RFP and or RFQ to, in the particular case of what we're trying to achieve here?
Okay.
Anything else from your perspective, Jen? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's all. We've been talking about it for a while, so I'm hoping that Tim and the selectmen would make, maybe put a date proper around it as far as when the
I'm
decision
going to follow up with Tim again next week,
would be
and
made.
I think it's going to be on us to keep it moving. But the
Right.
holidays are through now. People are around. The office is fully staffed, so I think we
Okay.
can keep it clicking.
Yeah, and the ARPA time clock is ticking, so.
Yeah, that's right on the same time frame as as exercising the option.
Yeah.
So both those things. Okay, 5.3, community engagement. Any updates, Bill and Karen?
I have nothing.
No, nothing new.
Okay. Policy and regulatory. That's me and Amy. Amy and I had a chat. We're going to our priorities for this year are clearly going to be advancing a proposal for the ADU regulation. So to that end, we need to have renewed conversations with zoning and land use, particularly because we now have a new land use coordinator, Eric Knapp, and our original conversations were with Dan, the prior one. So before we go in with concrete proposals, I think it would behoove us to bring Eric up to speed and get any input that he has from his new perspective before we take it any farther. And also having observed what's going on with both the museum district proposals and the Halls Road proposals that are moving their way through zoning and planning right now, we need to get planning in the loop. And so we'll be reaching out to Harold and doing another lap with the regulatory authorities that are going to need to process any proposal we have. I think we have the dimensions of the proposal that we want to advance, understood based on our conversations with Torrance up at River Cog and the earlier conversations with Dan and with zoning. But I think, again, as we come out of the holidays and we take a run at this, and particularly I expect that there's going to be some decisions on Halls Road and the museum district shortly. So we'll have a slot in the agenda to move this forward, and we want to pick up the pace on this. The other thing Amy and I talked about was also including on the agenda for the policy and regulatory work stream is incentives. So to that end, both from policy and regulatory, another of our goals this year is going to do a fairly comprehensive review of all of the regulations in Old Line, possibly getting some help again from River Cog, or maybe some external help to go through those. And with two things in mind. One is to look at the existing regulations and incentives, and there are some that impinge on affordable housing, and also look for opportunities for others. And Amy's done a fair amount of research on what's been going on in other towns around ADU regulations. And then we're also aware that there are other towns that have taken steps and incentives. So that'll also be on our docket for this year, is to survey what's going on across the state for incentives. So, so next steps are going to be, again, to get back with, particularly get planning in the loop and the new land use coordinator, and then get zoning back up to speed and get on the agenda now that hopefully the Halls Road and Museum District overlay decisions are hopefully near finished. Amy, anything to add? You're muted. If you can unmute yourself, try, and if not, I'll try it from this end. Can't hear you. I'll only see what I can do on my end. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, sorry. I also thought we should circle back with the towns we talked to on their experience. And because several zoning changes have been made and were envisioned, and what sort of pushback or not that they've been finding in their communities. And I guess that's it. But and River Cog as well might be helpful with this.
Good. Thanks for reminding me. We did talk about not just surveying what they did, but circling back and seeing how did it work? What was the experience having implemented? A lot of this is new and was in response to PA 2129. So we'll see if anybody's actually had some measurable outcomes as a result of what they did. Good. Thanks, Amy. Okay. Funding and partnering. Jen, that's you. Anthony's not with us.
Yep. So since we haven't spoken to Mike Santoro, anybody from the state recently since our last conversation, which I think, sorry, I missed the December meeting, total brain fart on my part. But from that update, one of the things that just recently happened was Congress passed the 2023 appropriations package, which includes $85 million for this campaign that's called Yes in My Backyard. It's kind of a corny name, but it's called Yes in My Backyard, which is a grant program to incentivize the removal of barriers to affordable housing production. And it's at both the state, local, and regional levels. Or at all the state, local, and regional levels. So not a lot of funding, obviously 85 million for the entire country. So it's first come, first serve, another one of those things. So I was thinking that we may be able to support putting in a grant for some help with improving zoning practices, land use practices, housing infrastructure, that kind of thing, that we might be able to bring to Old Lyme. I'm not really sure yet like how it would work out, but I'm thinking in my head that it's the incentives to support removals or removing the barriers to production. So there could be something there that we could tap into as far as a source of funding for either communications or clarity or developers or something like that. I'm not really sure yet, but it was just passed on their agenda with the budget package.
Awesome. Yes.
Package, sorry.
Yeah, we could use, definitely. Thank you, Jen. I wasn't aware of that. And I think we could use the help, and maybe even to help write some of this stuff in the right language.
Yeah, I'll follow up in a little bit more detail. I haven't had time to look at it yet, but I think that there's an opportunity, out of 85 million, maybe if we even get like 10,000 or 15,000.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Could be
That'd
something.
go a long way. We're 2 for 2 on grants. Let's go for it.
Right. Yeah. Keep our run going. That's all I had, really. I haven't spoken to Anthony recently.
Well, that's significant. It ties in nicely with what Amy and I were talking about doing. So that would be enabling. Any questions, discussion for Jen?
Sounds good.
Okay, and last but by no means least, development opportunities with John and Lori.
I actually have nothing to report. I missed the December meeting, but I haven't really done a lot on it. So
Just on a real estate front, as we all know, the inventory is very, very low. So, and even the little bit of like starter homes, if there are any, which there really aren't, seem to be scooped up by, developers, people that want to invest. So there's not much going on, but I was just wondering if there's any news from Tom Larson, the guy that came to our last meeting and had proposals for that land that he had available. Do you remember him, Karen? Yeah.
I've not heard back from him. I did touch base with him after the Shoreline Gateway Commission meeting, committee meeting is tomorrow, and you might see him there. And I don't think he had a proposal per se. He was just kind of looking for what the process and opportunities might be. He's got some ideas, I think, but if he's got one, it hasn't been communicated, at least to me. But I did touch base with him after our meeting.
Did he say he has land? Like he talked
Yes,
about the C30 zone. So I thought he did have land.
He
I
does.
think he has a property that I think he has a property that he may be trying to turn into a multifamily property.
Yep. It exists at the down at the end of Cross Lane.
Oh,
But I haven't heard back from him since our follow-up correspondence after the last meeting, which I guess I should have reported under correspondence, but I did now. I haven't heard from him, but expect that we might tomorrow. The Gateway Committee meeting is tomorrow this time. So
Might that be something, can we because he came to ask some questions, can we try to engage him and ask him if he were interested in checking out the possibility of that? Is that under our, our purview?
I think it would be. Let's see if he comes to the Gateway, because that was one of the things. The Gateway is definitely going to be wrapping their heads around this kind of stuff. Gateway Committee, but if not, I don't think we want to just let this lie.
Because it seems that what he was saying is he has this property. He doesn't think he can do anything else with it, and maybe he could do this, so it could be advantageous. I think at some point it would probably be worth a follow-up.
I agree. Lori, thoughts?
yeah, happy to help. As an alternate, I'm not sure I'm not as experienced as the rest of you. So I just feel like I wouldn't probably be the best person to make the first communication, but happy to stay involved.
Well, I'm in touch
follow
with
through.
him, and Anthony was going to reach out to him too, so we can check.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anthony was going to that's right. Anthony was going to call him and give him more information and guidance. That's true.
And he was going to come to the Gateway Commission last month, but that was canceled. So I actually let him know that, and he said he intended to come this month. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Michael, I'm just a little bit behind, but is that the Just Dump It place on
Yeah.
the corner of Cross and Mile Creek, or
Yep,
in 56?
exactly.
Okay. It's a nice looking house.
Yeah.
Is it part of our group that we would actually help somebody to turn that into that? Like, hand holding or partner with them to
Yeah, at least offer some guidance on what we can offer on process and connect some dots.
I mean, I suspect as a property owner, you don't know where to start.
Right, and
I mean,
that's
you just walk in the town hall and you'd be like, hey, it's hard to figure all this out.
Yep. And there's some of the early stops would be with planning.
Mhm.
The reason I'm kind of focusing on the Gateway Commission is one of the things they're actually looking at is zoning changes in that area. or the Gateway Committee, I keep calling it commission, but the Gateway Committee is part of the agenda for that committee is to look at that whole strip roughly between the old Gulf Station and just east of the police station, and look for opportunities for an overlay in there.
Well, I suspect that anybody that has property that has the potential to be a multifamily home is watching these sort of opportunities come up and seeing how it fares before they jump in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
And I think
Karen makes a
to
really
your
good
point,
there.
reaching out to them to see what they're interested in would be informative for the committee too. I'm sorry, John.
No, I was just gonna say, I think Karen makes a really good point there, is that if you don't know where to go and your first try maybe is like zoning or planning, and you get immediately shot down because they're not educated or up to speed as far as what affordable housing might be, opportunities might be lurking back there. You may just give up. So it could be, more of a process thing where we need to make sure that in our communications and whatsoever, we have that out there, that not to not go to planning or zoning, but there are other options.
Make some introductions, add some context, and
Yeah.
I
don't
think
let
in
it.
the future that the affordable housing maybe I don't want to say tasked, but they might have the power to say they support this particular project.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
that's-
in our charter that we serve as a clearinghouse for information and connections into the network. So I see that as squarely on our agenda. No issue.
Good point.
So we'll definitely keep this warm. Okay, anything else, Lori? Okay, I'll add one thing back to, this isn't necessarily under policy and regulatory, but the 2023 legislative session is starting. And I have seen some notes from the Connecticut the Council of Small Towns that there is some housing items on the agenda. It's early days, but we'll be tracking that as the legislative session ramps up. It's typically been on there most years, so watch this space, but we'll keep an eye on it.
And again, just a point on that is that because of the ratings and some of the efforts by like Desegregate Connecticut and some of the other organizations that have been out there looking at hubs around transportation and building affordable housing around those, which we don't have, but we actually in Old Lyme get more points because we don't have any of those things. So it actually boosts our eligibility up a little bit higher for increased funding because we have less options around transportation and things like that. So just a note.
And we came through the recalibration of this opportunity index, retaining our high opportunity status with the state, where some of the other towns on the shoreline were downgraded. Old Lyme remains as a high opportunity.
Yeah, because
the context for that is it doesn't necessarily mean that there are a lot of opportunities to build affordable housing.
Right.
That opportunity index is if you build affordable housing, the outcomes for the residents that occupy it are high.
Favorable.
Yep. Okay, so any other items under the updates or any other business? Okay, hearing none. Upcoming meetings and agenda items. Okay, our next meeting is coming up on February 15th. I had one item for that, other than continuing our updates, tracking the McCulloch project. I expect we're going to have some progress on that before our next meeting with the having a meeting with council, keeping tabs on the possible opportunity with Mr. Larson, and continuing work on our work streams. I think it would be worthwhile to just have a brief discussion about what we want to achieve this year. I know Amy and I have talked about what are going to be our priorities this year, so we can get a list of defined priorities to help us keep focused during the year. So for the work streams, why don't we come in just with like 1 or 2 or max 3 objectives for 2023, so that we can kind of track ourselves and what's important to us and what we want to get done this year.
One of the first should be is to get the McCulloch thing done.
That's an obvious. It's been on the agenda. So
I mean, yeah.
So let's I'll put that on the agenda for the 15th of February. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see on the agenda for them, other than we've got kind of a template we're working on here of to do some of the housekeeping and have the McCulloch project and the 4 work streams on every agenda. So. Okay. So we got through pretty quickly this time. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more meat on the bones for our more content on our next meeting, but we are coming off the holidays, so it was a bit slow there since our last meeting. Before we go to adjournment, I did want to address one thing. Tonight is Karen Winter's last meeting as a member with us.
Oh,
Is expiring. And I just wanted to recognize and thank Karen. Karen was one of the movers and shakers that actually got the original Affordable Housing Committee off the ground by working with the Board of Selectmen. And she was a charter member of that committee and went on to be a charter member of this commission. And we've all experienced how passionate Karen is about this and the quality of the ideas she brought to the table. And I just wanted to thank her for her service and tell her I hope that we keep hearing from her as a member of
We will.
I have no doubt, and I'm looking forward to it, Karen. But thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Awesome.
So, thanks, Jen. Actually saw that come up on the screen. Okay, if there's no other business, then I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
John? Second?
Second.
Bill? Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Be on the
Thanks
15th.
a lot.
Good night.
Be in touch before then.
Well,
Take care, Karen.
Yeah, Karen, great to work with you.